Call to order the regular board meeting of October 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. 2017. Let's try this again. Call to order the regular board meeting of October 2nd, 2017 at 7 p.m. I'd like to start with a moment of silence, recognizing the victims of the Las Vegas tragic events, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Echevetti.
Here.
Treasurer LaFata.
Here.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Vosberg. Here. Clerk Barry is here. Trustee Demink and Trustee Joseph are absent this evening.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Trustee Demink and Trustee Joseph from tonight's meeting. I did have prior notification.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? They are excused. Item number 4, presentations. Oh, nope, no item number 4. Item number 5, department reports.
Good evening, Board. Just want to briefly update Ruby subdivision retention pond. We had some problem with the pumps in there. We were able to reorder a new pump and new pump base. Today the pump came in. We were able to secure the pump. It's all ready to go tomorrow. We have some electrical work to do in the box, and that pump will be up and running, so that should be out of harm's way for worrying about any flooding with the sump pumps or any of the storm sewers in the Ruby subdivision, which affects Ruby Drive and Emerald Drive off 21 Mile, Anchor, and Sugar Bush. Thank you. Oh, by the way, the reason I'm here, it was more than a $3,000 purchase. With the help of Treasurer LaFata and Supervisor Echevetti, they gave me the okay to move forward to get the pump ordered so we could get it put in, and that's why I'm up here with the report. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Director Coddington.
Thank you.
Director Kirsten.
Good evening, board members. I've set in front of you a copy of an organizational chart for the newly formed Public Safety Department. Just a real brief presentation to you. We've divided it into 3 different sections under public safety. We have police operations, administrative operations, and fire operations. It basically consists of the current models in both departments. It also lists out the current staffing charts and positions that we have with a running total of staff members listed below. This is the model that we are going to use to integrate both departments. And just to let you know, we've already begun that process starting after your last board meeting with the fire department and creating some dialogue as how we're going to integrate services. The second piece of paper you have is the nominal consolidation of administrative. It's a brief timeline. This will be expanded as we understand both operations and as we integrate both. We've got some guidelines in there to what I will bring back to you in future reports to present to you. We're going to create some benchmarks. We're going to create some integrated services standards where both departments will function as one. So in 2018, when the funding mechanism is in place, we'll at least have an understanding of what direction we're going to go and where can we make some efficiencies and some improvements in. Again, both documents are living documents. They're going to be adjusted and modified, and I'll make sure that you're informed on all the modifications and changes that we come across.
Any questions for Director Kirsten?
Yeah, question, yeah. Chief, fire operations, I see you have fire chief. Is that going to be kind of reconfigured, that position, remuneration, et cetera? Thank you.
Yes. That is the plan. We'll reconstitute this as changes are made or vacancies are created in those positions and roles.
Thank you.
you, Director.
Anything? Thank you.
Item number 6 is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Public comments are permitted on the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of September 18th, 2017, approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department, and approval of the agenda as submitted. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item number 11 from the agenda, which is the closed session.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Clerk Barry. Discussion. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
The consent agenda is adopted. Item 7 is the regular agenda. 7A, adopt resolution 2017-24 and authorize the Township Supervisor to execute the Michigan National Resources Trust Fund Development Agreement for the Weber Paddle Park Development Project. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2017-24 and authorize the Township Supervisor to execute the Michigan National Resources Trust Fund Development Agreement for the Weber Paddle Park.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti.
Question.
Support by Clerk Barry. Trustee
Yep.
Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Previous board accepted this donation of this property. I'm looking at it, looks like this grant will cover anything from January 1st of this year moving forward. How much funds of the township have been spent so far on this property?
Treasurer LaFata may know the numbers a little bit more exact, but since December, and the only reimbursable costs are engineering costs only that have been incurred since January 1 of 2017. The prior board did spend some, appropriate some funds on an approach that went into this facility from in concert with the Department of Roads. And I also believe some work was done in 2016 on surveying and whatnot. This year, there has been a topographic survey completed. And that is about all the money that this year has been spent specifically for this project. As for prior years, I think Treasurer LaFata might have those, know the exact numbers a little more.
Well, there's been approximately somewhere between $24,000 and $28,000 spent so far on engineering. The only amount that was spent on engineering that I can recollect this year was $4,900 for the topographical survey. So the balance of that won't be reimbursable. According to this, from what I read and understand, neither will be the amount of $22,000 that we paid for the asphalt approach.
I do believe that is a accurate description of where we stand as of right now. Any further discussion from the board? Hello, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Supervisor, I've been here 50 years and I saw a bunch of people sitting on a boat in a creek. And there's been a sign up there by this Mr. Weber and a Joanne and somebody named Weber. I understand that they've given that property to this township. They've made arrangements for it to be owned by you, the people of the Chesterfield Township, under your supervision as the government. When can we find out how much money the state gave to the township? How is it going to be spent? Have you formed a committee or any type of blueprints or what's going to happen to that money that came from the state? Because every time I go spend a dollar bill in Michigan, they take a few cents in taxes. And those people up in Lansing is supposed to have been giving you people a grant. I say you people, I say the government, I should say. So who and how many people are going to be involved? And do you have any blueprints drawn up? And then I see where you wanted to exercise some type of operation with this thing. So, have we got the money in the bank? Have they did give us that property? Are they here tonight, those Weber people?
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Maybe it would help if I don't want to do it back and forth, but you all set? Okay. Help if I give you a little background on the project, which some of the existing legacy members on the board should know very, very well. Mr. Weber did purchase and donate the old farm property to Chesterfield Township to be used for recreational purposes. In the state of Michigan, there is the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, which every year the legislature votes on a bill. If passed and signed by the governor, projects are funded through that trust fund. That trust fund is, those monies come from oil and gas royalties primarily throughout the state, and there's a number of strings attached to that Michigan Trust Fund money, which is the entire state of Michigan's money. And the concept being to invest in projects throughout the state. Many times it is real property, and a lot of these resources go into buying vacant property to be perpetually used for a park or for public use. This board, starting in 15 or 16, submitted an application to the prior board to get some funds from this Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund to help develop the Weber Paddle Park. We scored very, very high on the rankings. As we had a new legislature this year, and it made it through the bill made its way through the process. We continued to be involved to make sure that we were on that list. The bill was signed in July, and the projects can therefore be funded and proceed. The Chesterfield Township is responsible for 30% match of the project. The project is approximately $379,000, and our portion of that is $114,000 with a match from the trust fund moving forward. And that is where we are at today in a very cliff-noted version. The plans and specifications, many of the funds that Treasurer LaFata spoke to was submitting for the trust fund grant. A lot of the work that our professional engineer has done, the surveying work, the wetlands work, the consulting work, some docks there were removed, a approach was installed in the proper location. Those are the monies that got us this far. And to commend the prior board, this is a good deal for our township. It is a very good use of that piece of property. It falls directly into the vision of what I think that Chesterfield Township should provide. And approving this resolution and agreement is the first step to making that moving that project forward. The construction of this will fall directly in, the timing of it's going to be very good as well, in that the Jefferson Road Bridge over the Salt River is due to be replaced by the Macomb County Road Commission in the summer of 2019 and potentially even late in 2018. So the construction of this project will coincide nicely with the bridge. All those documents are available. The blueprints, the plans are available as submitted, and the next step is to get with our professional service consultant, draw the actual drawings with all the details, submit the specifications, and then begin quickly the permitting process, which will primarily be with the DEQ and the Army Corps of Engineers. and there'll be a lot of action moving forward on this project. A lot of work to get us this far from the Legacy Board and from us. Any further comments from the board?
Just a question, Supervisor. Who's going to be the project manager on this one, as far as making sure that all the grant provisions are satisfied? And I know that we have to do a update every 180 days and make sure that that gets in. Is that going to be something that, which one of our departments is going to be handling that?
I would envision our professional engineering consultant is going to be key in every step of that process. Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick is our professional consultant. Our Parks and Rec director will be very integral with this when they are put in place. However, in the meantime, it's going to land on me.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
Any further comments from the board? Trustee Bosberg.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to see this move along the way it is. As when I was a county commissioner, we were working on different avenues of getting more access to the waterways, and this is just another way of accomplishing that. So very glad to have this moving forward.
I'd like to amend my motion as you all should have a updated resolution in your packet. Items in red, after a meeting between myself, Treasurer LaFata, and conversations with the state of Michigan, some language is to be added to the resolution. The first piece is under item number 2, which would add, all expenditures will follow the guidelines consistent to the current Chesterfield Township Board approved purchasing policy effective April 3rd, 2017. And in addition to item number 3, after such funds, you'll see it in red, as stated on page 2, item 6A of the project development agreement. And those additions were pursuant to Treasurer LaFata, our discussions earlier in the day.
Continued
Do I-
support.
You support it?
Oh, support, okay.
We had continued
I have
support by
continued support.
Clerk Barry. Any further discussion or comments from the public?
I have a question on the
Trustee
amendment.
Vosberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Supervisor. This additional language, you said has been approved by the state? The reason I'm asking is because it's my understanding that a lot of times they send us the language that we need to use to approve, that will comply with their requirements as well. So I just want to make sure that this does comply with them.
I got as far as is with the state that the language that they provided, which was the original resolution that was submitted with the packet, was what they need in the resolution. Additions to that could potentially jeopardize this, although I did have conversation, if we just have additions, and they are pretty innocuous, which these appear to be, that we do not believe that there will be a problem.
Okay, when will we find out if it were a problem?
Within, pretty quick.
So that we could fix it if need be?
Yes.
Because I would hate to have this project get
I'm
delayed too
pretty,
long.
I would not be, I'm very comfortable that adding, that we will follow our purchasing policy, and just referring to page 2, item 6A will be
Should be
okay.
sufficient? Great,
Yes.
thank you.
Any further discussion? Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Clerk Barry, to adopt the amended Resolution 2017-24 and to authorize the Township Supervisor to execute the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund Development Project Agreement for the Weber Paddle Park Development Project. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 7B, rezoning request by Mariano Toledo to rezone a vacant 12.669 acre parcel, number 09053000036, on the west side of Sure Road, south of Hagen, from A1 agricultural to R2 two-family residential. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the rezoning as requested.
They requested. We got a motion by Clerk Barry. Support?
Something to say on that for the plans.
They want to deny.
They can,
Motion dies for lack of support. Let me try this again. Item 7B, rezoning request by Mariano Toledo to rezone a vacant 12.669 acre parcel, 09053000036, on the west side of Sure Road, south of Hagen, from A1 agricultural to R2 two-family residential. I'll make a motion to discuss the rezoning request as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Clerk Barry. Discussion.
Are you going to I'm waiting for you to
give you
discuss
a-
it, maybe I won't have to say anything after your
yeah.
discussion.
Hold tight. So the Planning Commission recommended denying the rezoning request in front of us. It is a agricultural piece. The request was to rezone it to multiple family. They've requested to deny that rezoning. With that, I'll amend my motion to deny to deny the rezoning as rezoning request by Mario Toledo to rezone vacant land a vacant 12.669 acre parcel on the west side of Sure Road, south of Hagen, from A1 agricultural to R2 two-family residential, pursuant with the recommendations of the Planning Commission. For the following reasons. The current designation is consistent with the master plan. The current rezoning is not consistent with what's around there, and the piece of property can be used as R1 or as A1. Revised motion by Supervisor Akavetti, or amended motion.
Support.
Did you support it first?
No, Kathy did.
We got an amended motion by Supervisor Akavetti to deny the rezoning request, and support by Trustee Vosberg. Discussion. Yes.
I'll just say, I attended the planning board meetings, and they had long discussions. Actually, they had 2 open hearings on it, and they came to the conclusion that what you just stated, that it can be used in its current condition. The surrounding property around this property is also zoned A1, and there was many residents in the area that requested that they not change the zoning because once it turns to that type of rezoning, all the land around it tends to turn. And we do need our agricultural in our community at the present time, at least for the next few years. And so I just wanted to say I support the Planning Commission's request to deny.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion by Supervisor Akavetti, support by Trustee Vosberg, to deny the rezoning request by Mario Toledo to rezone a vacant 12.669 acre parcel, number 09053000036, on the west side of Sure Road, south of Hagen, from A1 to R2. I would also like to include the planner's recommendation in this motion. Clerk Barry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Akavetti.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Barry. Aye.
Motion passes. Item 8, there are no public hearings. Item 9, there are no addendums. Item 10, public comments. 5-minute time limit, please come up, state your name.
Well, no, I'm not a lady, I forgot. Rita Richards, 49932 Miller Court. I apologize for not having been here this summer. I've run into a lot of problems, including my husband not being able to drive. And I have to provide that service for him, and the fellows that he shoots with every Wednesday meet on the same night that you meet. So therefore, that's why I haven't been here. As you well know, we do not have an addition to the senior center yet, and I have come here to request one. It is about time that we started thinking about setting aside some money for that. The senior center is closed for 3 weeks. As the leader of the largest exercise class, I searched desperately for a place for us to exercise all over New Baltimore and Chesterfield. Finally, I went to Eric and I said, can we use the building at Brandenburg Park? And he said, no, somebody would have to unlock it and then go back and lock it up. So I said, okay, how about one of the pavilions? We're willing to exercise outside. And he said, sure, you can use one of the pavilions. So as the time got closer to the senior center closing, there were a gazillion picnic tables on each of the pavilions, and we're fit, but we simply could not move all of them off and move them back on after exercising. To say the least, I want that addition. I did find us a place to exercise. Chesterfield Public Library was very kind to allow us to go into their back room, but I want you to know that I have not given up on that addition, and I will maybe not be here again this year, but I will be back next year.
Thank you, Ms. Richards.
Joe Kadich, live on Sutton. First of all, I'd like you to, if you can now, make a change to seeing that you're going into closed session right after the public comments. Put the board comments up before you go into closed session. Last meeting, I had a couple requests. I never did get an answer. You went into closed session, and that was the end of it. One of the requests I had was about just halting the spraying of the Phragmites, which was ignored, went ahead with it. Thank you, the swans are gone, the ducks are already gone. They had more sense than apparently most of us. They realized that there was stuff out there was going to harm them. The other one was I wanted a status, if there is still a status, on the idea or the project that we were going to live stream the meetings. That came out last year. It was, I think, part of the idea when the new video, not the new video, but when the new wire came in, but never heard anything as to whether that's going to happen or whether it's dead. I'd like some feedback on that. Today I heard the used to be chief, but now director of public safety, talking about the organization for fire and policemen. And I wondered what happened the last project meeting, not project meeting, but the board meeting that was right after you were elected. The fire chief had an idea that he was going to expand the number of EMTs he had on the fire department, obviously buy more rescue equipment. I think add another fire station at the north end of the township. And I thought this was a reasonably good idea, being that they had the money to do it. It allowed the fire department to become actually, they could, as they do now, they could go to the people that call for help, 911 help, and whether an accident or what, they could treat them, but they could also transport them to the hospital. And most insurance companies reimburse for that. Is that idea die now that the money is being rolled all into one big fund? And the police department has sounds like they've got the responsibility for that. Are they going to just ignore the fire department ideas? I thought it was a great one, particularly today when watching the news about what happened out in Las Vegas. Fire department went in hand with the police department, and they worked well together, and they did a lot of good. I think it'd be a good idea to carry that idea forward about increasing the EMTs and the response for the EMTs, and take it all the way from when they see somebody to take them to the hospital too. Thank you.
Any further board comments or any further public comments?
I came down today to pick up a copy of the agenda. And I saw on the agenda where Dan Acovetti was right up here on the top. That's you, Dan. And I had a talk with my treasurer there, and he told me something about this park going on. And then I see tonight that the clerk, Miss Berry, this came from your office, and it's got your name on it. I'd like to read something here. The following resolution was adopted. Now that's in the first sentence of the thing. Down at the bottom, the following votes were going to be recorded, and down at the bottom, all you got to do is sign it, and it says, at a meeting held. The way this is written, it was a foregone conclusion that appeared coming out of your office, Miss Berry, that there's 3 of you or 4 of you that's present, there's 2 people missing, was go ahead and adopted it. Now, with 2 people missing and 3 people is all it takes for a majority, it reminds me when that lady sitting back there and another gentleman here and a man sitting over here with 3 people present and you absent that night, Mrs. Berry, and Mr. Anderson was absent. They threw a huge pay raise on some people. 3 out of 7 people gave monster pay raises to the public officials in just such a situation as you find yourselves tonight. 2 people could have voted yes or no, but this couldn't be postponed until that empty chair over there and the one over here was filled. I am appalled that you would even pass something, such a resolution or something, with 2 people absent. Why don't 3 of you just give everybody a $100,000 raise tonight? Because when that raise came through and the 3 people done it when there was 2 missing, there had been a pledge made and signed and a bunch of people's photographs in that pledge. And one of the people's photograph was the one that made the motion to give huge pay raises. And 3 out of 7 people raised Mr. Acovetti's future pay, that pay of that gentleman there, and modified the other things. I'm surprised that you don't postpone some stuff, especially when it's dealing with $250,000 or $500,000. Now, when that chief of police had something on the agenda for $400,000, I went bopping straight to the police station. Where are you going to spend $400,000 of the people's money? And he went through that he gave me a tour of it and showed me all the old stuff and how he anticipated having these contractors come in. So I was hoping that you would form some type of committee, or at least all 7 of you be voting on things. So let me sign this and get on out of here. But it's just like in the old days.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Might as well
Any
stay
further
home and
comments
try
from
to
the
be
public?
89 or 90. But I'm really disappointed with this thing here. It's almost an assumption
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
or something pre-planned.
Rick Boylan. I just have a question. A couple months back, we had a nice discussion, I thought, on pursuing hiring a professional engineer. And since that time, there have been several positions created in this township. Now, I'm not going to debate the need, the good, the bad. I will say, I think we're going to have a hard time seeing the ROI on those, especially if the board is not telling us how we're saving money with these new positions, okay? That's on you to tell us. And when we had discussion on hiring a professional engineer, there wasn't a whole lot of counter arguments on the fact that I presented we could save money. Everybody was kind of either nodded their head or didn't say anything. So unless you can tell me I was wrong, I'm assuming that still that is a viable position that could save us resources and money. Now, if you look around within a half mile, houses are popping up like mushrooms. I mean, look at all the holes in the ground right up here in the corner. I gotta believe that having our own PE on board, and you mentioned something about having a professional engineering consultant about the Weber Park and some other things. I don't know if this just got dropped completely, if it was put on the back burner on real low, or because it wasn't some board member's idea, you don't want to entertain it anymore. But I think you're missing a boat if we don't get somebody on board to look out for our best interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Last shot out there. All right, let's bring it up to the board. Trustee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I supported the acquisition of the Weber property when it was presented to the township. I know it's a benefit to our residents. I see merit in a resolution that was passed that I did not support tonight. Mr. Boylan, you hit a point that affected my lone vote against it. This board had an agenda item a few months ago to look at a engineer, the engineering position for the township. And it sounds if moving forward, that the current engineering firm will be locked in during the duration that this project moves forward. I had an issue with that, and that's why I could not support it. With that, looking at the brevity of the meeting here, I'll be quiet. Thank you.
Trustee Vosberg.
I'll pass.
Treasurer Lopata.
First of all, I'd like to address Mr. Kadish. There's nothing been set in stone about not doing any of the improvements to the fire department. There's been talk of the EMT units and everything else. There's also talk of the actual cost of the equipment, the liabilities as far as insurances that would be required, that would be necessary for the township to take that on. Mr. Miller, there is a Parks and Rec commission that could get involved in the Weber Paddle Park if they so wish to. Might be a good idea if they got involved. It would give some insight from the residents. I understand Mr. Miller's concern that important issues should possibly be tabled until there's a full township board to weigh in on them. Also, excuse me, at the same time that this meeting's going on at the township, Representative Peter Lucido and Mr. Hotel are having a meeting at McInerney's with concerns and discussions about the quality of our water in the St. Clair River and Lake St. Clair. And they've mentioned the continual beach closures because of E. coli bacteria and the possible effect it might have on the area's drinking water. What hasn't been brought to light and is a bigger issue than that is the fact that Canada still plans to bury 52 tons of nuclear waste on the shores of Lake Huron. I've personally written letters to our governor, no response. Some of our representatives, no response. And year after year, the only thing that I see out there is another letter saying that we're doing something. Well, what we're doing really isn't enough. It's not getting the focus that it needs to get this shut down. Lead in the drinking water in Flint is nothing compared to our drinking water being contaminated with radioactive waste. There's been 3 sites that for nuclear waste that are on this planet to date. All 3 of them have failed and leaked. So I don't understand why Canada is so staunch in continuing this effort. The United States, the Trump administration, our news media, somebody needs to get out in front of this and stop it. It's too close to the possible failure in the contamination of all the drinking water in southeastern Michigan. Thank you.
Clerk Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First, to address the question of live streaming, this is something that Mr. Kadich and I have been working on for a long time because both of us really want to see that happen. With the new agenda management software that the board authorized purchase of this year that is being phased in, one of the abilities we have with that is live streaming, but that's part of the video component of that package. And because it's a pretty complicated software package, it's being rolled out in phases. So you saw the agenda, you notice the agenda looks different, the minutes look different. That's kind of the first part. Then we'll see internally how people submit agenda items and so forth. That's a second phase. So the third phase, which is kind of the public portal and then the video streaming aspect, will be rolled out probably sometime early 2018. So now the video streaming, keep in mind that live streaming will only go to our website at this time because we still do not have the broadcasting end of it worked out with Comcast and AT&T and some of the other carriers that are involved with the public access. That's still something that's going to need to be worked on, but we will at least have the capability to stream live at least through the website. So online you'll be able to access it. So part of it, and I'm hoping that by the end of next year we're able to solve the issues with the broadcasting as well. So hopefully that answers that question for you, and I'll keep you updated as we move forward with that. Secondly, I would just like to point out that we have a bunch of community enrichment programs coming up, and I'd like to highlight them briefly so that people know that what they are and when they're coming for the month of October. This coming Thursday, October 5th, here at the Township offices, and all of these take place at the Township offices. We will have a special program on how to winterize your home and garden, tips and tricks for protecting your home from the threats of winter weather, learn how to prepare your water pipes, furnace, lawn, and garden areas. That's going to be presented by some of our Chesterfield team members here, Kevin Johnson from our DPW department, as well as a master gardener from the Michigan State University Extension will be here to tell us about that. On October 12th, we have the Chesterfield Color Tour. Many of you know that we are a Tree City USA, so you may join our guest arborist as you enjoy all the beautiful fall colors of the many trees and landscape that have made us a Tree City USA, with a light lunch at Brandenburg Park included. That program runs from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. On October the 19th, we have Halloween Safety. Our police department will present to you Halloween Safety, Home and Property Security. They will present information on how to stay safe while enjoying Halloween fun, as well as protecting your home and personal property from potential vandals and thieves. And then lastly, for the month of October, we have our firearm safety program. That's one that's requested pretty regularly. We did not have a firearm safety offering anywhere in the township other than some private vendors. And so we have partnered with them to bring it here to Chesterfield Township completely free of charge to you. And that is to sign up to learn the basics of firearm safety, learn how to safely hold, handle, and store various firearms and ammunition to prevent potential injury or damage to the firearm. So we have some very diversified but very exciting programs coming up for you. They are completely free. Again, they all, the other thing I'd like to mention as well on the firearm safety, most of our community enrichment programs take place on Thursday evenings here at the Township from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, with the exception of our color tour, which is 11 a.m. to 1. The firearm safety course, if you are interested in that, the date has been changed. That was Thursday, October the 26th, but due to availability of the presenter, it will now be Monday, October 30th. 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. here at the Township offices. You can go on our website to learn more information or to pre-register for any one of these programs. Pre-registration is not required, but we do encourage it to make sure we have ample materials and supplies for all who wish to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. I would ask that we keep the victims of what's looking to be the largest mass shooting in our country's history, and it's still on developing, a lot of wounded and a lot of hurting people, in your thoughts and prayers moving forward. Our next meeting is October 16th, 2017 at 7 p.m. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:46 p.m.
Support?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?